This has been a constant criticism. Why was Mr. Sisodia named as accused number one when he has not been charge sheeted? Or what is it that the CBI has really found after repeated searches of his house, of his office, of his bank lockers? So this time around, when CBI called him for questioning, they were prepared. They thought they had enough to confront him with. What is this that was giving CBI this confidence? Number one, Dinesh Arora, a former associate, was now turned approver, giving CBI crucial insights into alleged meetings that happened in Hyderabad, that happened in Delhi, where money exchanged hands, where currency note numbers of Hawala transactions of 30 crore of bribe were detailed and subsequently given to another accused, Vijay Nair. All those details were now available with CBI through an approval. Number two, documentary proof, technical proof to show that the co-accused, who are loosely called the South Group, they meeting in a Delhi hotel using the business center to print 36 pages of a document, and identical document being used by Mr. Sisodia before the GOM moved the excise policy. Number three, the missing file. The excise policy file, which reportedly had all the details about how this policy was formulated, the back and forth between the legal experts, the expert committee, the initial recommendation. Where is that file? When Mr. Sisodia was repeatedly asked, he did not say, I gave it to Secretary A. He did not say, I gave it to Excise Commissioner. He kept saying, I don't know. And that is what makes CBI suspicious that he knows much more than what he's seeing. Their suspicion is that this bribe money was diverted for election funding in Goa, possibly in Punjab too. So they were quite confident of their case against Mr. Sisodia. Ultimately, will this confidence turn into a charge sheet, into conviction? That we have to wait and watch.
Well, there are a lot of questions also. That arise. We'll try and go back to Akash in just a bit. But Arunima, one aspect that stands out is that the Delhi Chief Minister is on record championing this new excise policy. The minister in question, who's currently in the dock, he himself had advocated for it. So can they actually claim that they did not know? But the burden of proof lies on the prosecution, the CBI. So at this point, the AAP may look at it as a face saver because they want to further their national ambitions. But with respect to Mr. Sisodia, does the CBI have robust proof? Because Mr. Sisodia's legal team will approach the trial court, they will approach the High Court, they will look at redressal. And their argument is that Manish Sisodia is cooperating. There is no ground for his arrest.
But you know what the CRPC says, and this is what CBI officials are pointing out, is that Section 41A of CRPC gives the investigating officer the right to custodial interrogation, and the investigating officer has exercised that right. There is nothing illegal in that act. As far as cooperating or not cooperating with CBI is concerned, I just give you an example that CBI is citing. That crucial file is missing and the minister cannot explain where did that file go, who did he hand over that file to. The other charge of destruction of evidence is that he was using multiple handsets, multiple SIM cards. Where are those phones? Where are those SIM cards? Why is that important? It's because his own personal secretary has reportedly told CBI that informal instructions were given. An excise commissioner has told CBI that informal instructions were given. One of the co-accused, Mr. Mahendru, whose company Indo Spirits benefited from this excise policy, his application was getting rejected on technical grounds. There are now witnesses coming on record to say that Mr. Sisodia personally intervened and asked that his second application be approved. Why was he personally intervening as a minister? How did he know that a second application was being filed? All of these are questions that CBI is asking. Of course, there are those grey areas still. I just want to point them out. CBI says 100 crore kickback was taken. So far, they have no proof of where that money went.
Trail?
All they have said is that 70 lakh was paid in cash in Goa to surveyors, and some money was paid to those using their advertising hoardings. But CBI needs to tell us if money was paid, where was it used, who really got it. Mr. Sisodia got it, Mr. Kejriwal got it, somebody else got it. Where did that money go? Correct. That is the big question, and that money trail is where CBI is now focusing.
Yes, because kickbacks or that's what will prove the criminality or 120B, criminal conspiracy angle. Till then, it is a policy error, and a policy error does not mean that there is a certain element of quid pro quo criminality or this aspect of office of profit. Akash is also with us. Akash, even with Massagegate, they brazened out with Satyendra Jain, despite the proof. What has prompted this sudden turn within the Aam Aadmi Party's move, getting their two key men to resign within 48 hours of Manish Sisodia's arrest?
Right. So, Anand, it is Aam Aadmi Party is saying that it is because they want a smooth governance in the national capital. But the real reason, it seems like 2024 elections, because Aam Aadmi Party is somewhere changing its strategy. Given that opposition is constantly attacking them, saying that in Punjab you have a different sort of work style, and in Delhi you have opted some different sort of work style. In Punjab, you are saying that just because there is some sort of allegation on our minister, that is the reason why we are asking for the resignation. And in Delhi, your minister is in jail from last more than 8 to 9 months, and you're not asking for the resignation. So it seems like a change in strategy, Anand, and undoubtedly it is like that Aam Aadmi Party is now eyeing on 2024 elections. They are considering themselves as one opposition party, one main opposition party, and this is the reason why possibly we have seen this particular development now. But Anand, it is crucial to mention that Aam Aadmi, BJP and Congress are now asking for the resignation of Arvind Kejriwal as well, because they say that with the acceptance of the particular resignations, you have somewhere accepted that these ministers are in jail and they cannot be a part of your government, and that is the reason why on moral grounds you should resign as well. But on the other hand, Aam Aadmi Party is saying that we believe in the particular system, we believe in our judicial system, and we'll wait. We'll wait for the court proceedings. We'll wait for all the investigations to conclude, and then after we are sure that our minister will be walking out freely. As of now, the biggest challenge is that we have only 4 to 5 ministers left in the cabinet, and as of now, Aam Aadmi Party has decided not to induct anyone in the cabinet, but they'll have to choose 2 ministers, and we are learning that Saurabh Bhardwaj's name and Atishi's name is very much there, but it will be crucial and important to see as to how things will pan out from now onwards, because Aam Aadmi Party is facing constant attacks from the
no, they have a huge, they have more than
accepted.
60 MLAs. Why do they have to bring back the MPs from the Lok Sabha? And those will also be questions which will be asked. Their own elected representatives, key members. Why do they have to bring them in? Those who are going to also champion their cause for national politics, will they bring them back into Delhi government? These are all aspects which remain. But Arunima, you have some inside details on what happened. Did Manish Sisodia write the letter today? Take us through those developments that you have said, that he wrote the resignation letter today. So had Sisodia decided to resign, or was he asked to put in his resignation?
What we've been told is that this letter was written today. That's what we also learned from our sources in the Aam Aadmi Party. And we do know that his lawyer as well as his wife have been permitted to meet him. A lawyer for 30 minutes, wife for 15 minutes. So what we are being told is that resignation letter was sent by Mr. Sisodia, but the Chief Minister waited till the Supreme Court's decision came. That Supreme Court decision was crucial. Even though if you spoke to legal experts ahead of the Supreme Court hearing, they would tell you, like I just pointed out, the investigating officer under CRPC 40.8 does have the right to custodial interrogation, and that right was being exercised. Abhishek Manu Singhvi tried to compare this custodial interrogation with cases of journalists like Mr. Vinod Dua, the late Vinod Dua, and also Arnab Goswami, but those were cases where dissent was being alleged. Like the Supreme Court pointed out, this was a case of corruption, a Prevention of Corruption Act case. The two were not comparable. Even then, CBI officials were watching the proceedings very cautiously. They were prepared with all the evidence, all the document. Their legal teams were there. If the Supreme Court had sought, they would have made them available as to why they needed to take Mr. Sisodia into custody. I gave you those 3 points that they want to ask him of. And after the Supreme Court decided that this cannot be allowed, just because this is Delhi, just because the Supreme Court is physically, geographically located here, I think the Aam Aadmi Party decided that they will have to accept that resignation from the system.
Right. Now, we are also given to understand after the High Court verdict, and they were asked, the Supreme Court asked them to go to the High Court. That decision was taken. There is also the upcoming budget. So it gives them the urgency. If they want to run the House, they can't have it with 2 key ministers and majority of the portfolios being handled from inside jail. And a cabinet meeting would have to be held somewhere in the jail premises, is what certain BJP leaders were also putting out there, that had to happen. So clearly, will this dent the political credibility of the Aam Aadmi Party and their claim of giving good governance, the success story within a decade that they were in government in 2 states? Now, does that get dented? These are all questions that will remain. But this charge and subsequent probe that is expected now is going to be very problematic for the Aam Aadmi Party. This goes very much against the grain of what the party says it stands for. There are now so many scam-related charges that the very image is under threat. This credibility aspect politically also is important. Why? Liquorgate. Number 2 of the party, Manish Sisodia, is accused of getting kickbacks from liquor barons. Many have already been arrested. His custody is still another 5 days. They'll seek recourse in the trial court and the High Court going forward. DTC bus scam. A probe has already been ordered into the irregularities in the purchase of buses and ignoring the lowest bidder. Kailash Gehlot there comes under the scanner as the transport minister. Classroom Gate. Delhi government's own vigilance report says 1300 crore scam in construction of classrooms and toilets. Once again, the department comes under Manish Sisodia. Money laundering case. Satyendra Jain in jail since June 22. He is also accused of misusing his government position. Advertisement case. Old case where the AAP was initially asked to return 97 crore. That sum has now increased to 163 crore due to interest accrued. The charge here is that they use public funds for political ads. And of course, there are others within Punjab government and thereafter who have been under the dock within the Aam Aadmi Party, or 6 or 7 different faces now who are under the scanner for graft charges, either arrested or under investigation or convicted, so or have had to resign from their positions in government. Let's listen to some of the reactions.
देखिए, दिल्ली के 2 करोड़ लोगों का प्यार और आशीर्वाद पाकर दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी दिल्ली के लोगों की सेवा कर रहे हैं। उनका काम किसी प्रकार से रुकना नहीं चाहिए, बाधित नहीं होना चाहिए। इस कारण से दोनों मंत्रियों का, आदरणीय मनीष सिसोदिया जी का और सत्येंद्र जैन जी का इस्तीफा लिया गया है। उसको मुख्यमंत्री जी ने स्वीकार कर लिया है। लेकिन जहां तक इन दोनों मंत्रियों के ऊपर लगे हुए आरोप का सवाल है, ये आरोप पूरी तरीके से बेबुनियाद है, फर्जी है और कोई सत्यता इसमें नहीं है। ये बात मैं फिर से दोहराना चाहता हूं।
If Mr. Manish Sisodia had any moral compass left, being the disciple of Anna Hazare movement, he ought to have resigned on the day this scandalous allegations came to light. He ought to have told, first I will get exonerated, then I will come back. But his plea in the Supreme Court was, I am looking after 18 departments, therefore please give me bail. The keenness was there to run the department, not to explain the scandalous case of corruption. Therefore, again I would repeat, the whole conduct of Aam Aadmi Party is typified by 3C: cut, commission and corruption.
Well, you've got Rupashri Nanda, who's been tracking the developments closely. She's also joining us with more updates on from the Aam Aadmi Party that Kailash Gehlot will now have finance, planning, PWD, power, home, urban development, irrigation and flood control and water. So these will be the portfolios that Kailash Gehlot will handle. Rupashri Nanda with us. Yes, Rupashri.
Well, Anand, yes, that is the big breaking news that we are getting at this point in time. Finance, planning, PWD, power, home, UD, irrigation and flood control and water will be with Minister Kailash Gehlot. And in addition to this also, if any other portfolio has not been specifically assigned to any other minister, that will also be handled by Kailash Gehlot. Now remember, this increases his clout within the government, and finance, remember, was actually all these ministries were being handled by Sisodia after the resignation of Jain, but specifically he takes over finance, which was completely handled by Sisodia right from the beginning. And power and home were being handled, power, home, PWD, urban development, they were being handled by Satyendra Jain, which following Jain's arrest, Sisodia had been handling. So he has been given the very important department of, Ministry of Home also. Right. And then PWD, again a very crucial ministry within the Aam Aadmi Party government. Water, a key portfolio. Because Arvind Kejriwal has always been very driven about water and issues relating to accessibility of water. So, Kailash Gehlot will be handling these, and he will be presenting the budget in upcoming Delhi budget when it finally is presented in the floor of the House. The other point I wanted to make, Anand, is that the budget actually, the presentation of the budget, the date for the budget, that is something that gave Arvind Kejriwal the sense of urgency. Because questions are being asked as to why, when he waited for almost 9 to 10 months, when it came to Satyendra Jain, he could not wait even more than 48 hours when it came to Manish Sisodia. We are also learning that Manish Sisodia actually wrote his resignation letter today. Arvind Kejriwal waited for the Supreme Court to pronounce its order on the plea moved by the Aam Aadmi Party, and the government, and when the Supreme Court told Kejriwal or the Aam Aadmi Party to go to the High Court to seek remedial measures, there was a sense
Right.
within
So
the
somewhere
party
they got the
it would
sense
be a
that
very
two key
long-term battle.
ministers, both of whom had the finance portfolios, first Satyendra Jain and then Manish Sisodia. So it would have been Manish Sisodia presenting the budget had he not been arrested. So they needed somebody who would present the budget, and they had to have a minister there. And that's where forced the hand of the Aam Aadmi Party, which had been resisting for nearly 8.5 months. So Rupashri, in the case of Satyendra Jain, so that's why the resignations come in. Kailash Gelot steps up, and he will be the one now with the portfolio of finance, and he will present the budget. Let's shift focus, ladies and gentlemen, from what's happening with politics in Delhi and all the drama to what's happening in Uttar Pradesh, where Yogi Adityanath has said he is going to finish Mafia Raj at a time the Umesh Pal murder happens in Prayagraj.
और उन माफियाओं के खिलाफ मिट्टी में मिलाने का काम उनका हमारी सरकार करेगी।
Well, it's a bizarre scenario, ladies and gentlemen. At a time when law and order used to be the fact that would be championing the cause of Uttar Pradesh, the biggest turnaround, one gets to understand that even sitting inside jail, the mafia bosses can still plan executions. In this case, a key witness in a case that would put Atiq Ahmed, the Don, who's behind bars, in the dock. The death or the shooting of Umesh Pal sent flutters because it happened in broad daylight in Prayagraj. The details that we've accessed here at News 18 are shocking. Not just the alleged proximity of some of these people with the likes of Akhilesh Yadav, where Akhilesh Yadav has turned around and said anybody can take photo with anybody, that does not mean I am close to him. This same person who's there in the pictures, one of the accused, has been seen with a BJP leader too. So that is also there. But the fact is that these people plotted this murder inside jail. They recceed, they identified the time and place where they realized this person will be vulnerable, and they did not have one or two people. They had more than a dozen shooters, assassins, executors who were there at the ready, some doing the recce, some as backup, and some who were there to go and kill Umesh Pal. So in the CCTV footage, if you were to see, you can see a person getting out of the car, running towards the car from which Umesh Pal is stepping out. You can see the other angle, you would see them stepping out of the Creta, and then not just with a gun in their hand, another person actually has a little bit of a small crude bomb in his hand, and he throws that that too. So this entire Mafia Neta nexus, is this still rampant? That's the big question. That smoke that you are getting, ladies and gentlemen, is because the bomb has been thrown. Something's been thrown by somebody from the other angle. This is just the top angle that you're getting. There is also the other angle of the CCTV footage, which shows these people rushing out. And we'll try and play that out for you in just a bit. So, who are all the people involved? The first person involved is Atiq Ahmed. Atiq Ahmed is named in the police FIR, and the plot was hatched at his behest. By whom? Atiq's brother Ashraf. He is also named in the police FIR. The assailants met him in jail. Atiq's wife Shaista Parveen has been named in the police FIR. Sadakat Khan, he hatched the plot. The plot was hatched at his hostel, and they all stayed there at this hostel, the Allahabad Central University hostel. Atiq's son Asad, one of the executors, caught on cam firing at Umesh. Then Nafis Ahmed is the assailant. He is the owner of the Creta car in which these assailants actually travelled. That was their getaway vehicle. Arbaz is another shooter who was killed in the encounter just yesterday. Guddu Muslim is another shooter who's currently absconding, and Mohammad Ghulam is another shooter who's currently absconding. This is all information as per the Uttar Pradesh police. Now the BJP is also coming out and claiming a Samajwadi Party link to the accused. This was an image tweeted by the BJP saying Samajwadi Party is a nursery of criminals, and the Samajwadi Party coming out and countering the BJP's allegation and tweeted out a picture where they said anyone can come up and get a photo clicked because he's seen with a BJP leader, a former BJP MLA. This is what Akhilesh Yadav had to say when quizzed about his links with one of the accused.
जब से भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार आई है, कानून व्यवस्था ध्वस्त हुई है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट ने समय समय पर सरकार को लताड़ा है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने यहाँ तक कहा कि उत्तर प्रदेश में क्या जंगल राज चल रहा है। सरकार डायलॉग से चल रही है और जिस सरकार का परमानेंट डीजीपी ना हो, एक ही अधिकारी पर इंटेलिजेंस हो, एक ही अधिकारी पर सब कुछ हो, उसके बाद कैसे उम्मीद कर सकते हो कि प्रशासन सही खबर मुख्यमंत्री और सरकार तक पहुंचाएगा। देखिए, तस्वीर किसी के साथ भी हो सकती है। तो आज ये सोशल मीडिया का ज़माना है, कोई भी आता है फोटो खिंचवाता है। आपने आधी फोटो देखी, लाने वाला भी उसके अंदर फोटो के अंदर है, जिसने मिलाया वो भी फोटो के अंदर है।
Rakesh Tripathi of the BJP is with us. We also have Vivek Silas of the Samajwadi Party. Rakesh Tripathi, law and order तो कंट्रोल में है, तो ये दिन दहाड़ कैसे हो गया? That's the first question that comes to mind. उत्तर प्रदेश की जेलों में बैठ के प्लॉट हैच किए जा रहे हैं।
पूरे प्रकरण में जिस अपराधी माफिया का नाम इस पूरे घटनाक्रम के पीछे लिया जा रहा है, अतीक अहमद। ये अतीक अहमद कोई अचानक पनपा हुआ माफिया नहीं है। 79 में पहला मुकदमा दर्ज होता है जब देश में प्रधानमंत्री राजीव गांधी जी थे और उत्तर प्रदेश में वीर बहादुर सिंह जी मुख्यमंत्री थे। राजीव गांधी जी के सीधे हस्तक्षेप के कारण, संरक्षण के कारण अतीक अहमद का राजनीति में प्रवेश होता है और समाजवादी पार्टी विधायक और सांसद बनाती है, उसके परिजनों को सांसद बनाती है और फिर बहुजन समाज पार्टी आज उनको संरक्षण दे रही है। लंबे समय तक जो अतीक अहमद माफिया उत्तर प्रदेश की गलियों में खुलेआम जराइम की दुनिया को स्थापित करने का काम कर रहा था, योगी आदित्यनाथ सरकार आने के बाद न केवल हमने उसको जेल की सलाखों के पीछे भेजा, बल्कि उसको उत्तर प्रदेश की सीमा से बाहर भी किया। दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना घटी है। इस घटना को की जिम्मेदारी सब पीछे नहीं हट सकते, लेकिन हम उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता को और देश की जनता को आश्वस्त कर रहे हैं कि इस पूरे घटनाक्रम में एक एक वांछित अपराधी जो है उसको उसकी मुकम्मल जगह तक पहुंचाएंगे। और पहला अपराधी अरबाज खान, जिसने पुलिस पर फायरिंग करने का दुस्साहस किया, जिस पूरे मामले में एक आरोपी था, उसको उत्तर प्रदेश की पुलिस ने चैन की नींद सुला दिया है। अब वो जाकर के अपने गुनाहों की सजा मुकम्मल तरीके से पा रहा है। एक एक अपराधी का निश्चित तौर पर यही हश्र होने वाला है। अगर कोई अपराधी चुनौती देगा कानून व्यवस्था को, तो निश्चित तौर पर कानून बिल्कुल कठोरता से कार्रवाई करेगा। यह सरकार कोई अपराधियों को पालने वाली, उनको बढ़ाने वाली सरकार नहीं है। योगी आदित्यनाथ सरकार ने स्पष्ट किया है। लेकिन समाजवादी पार्टी ने जिस तरह से एनकाउंटर के तुरंत बाद टेसुए बहाना शुरू कर दिया, शफीकुर रहमान बर्क के सांसद निकल कर आते हैं और अरबाज खान के मानवाधिकारों की बात करने लगते हैं। समाजवादी पार्टी की ओर से लगातार ये बयान दिए जाते हैं कि यह एनकाउंटर टारगेट किलिंग है, यानी अपराधी पर कार्रवाई होती है तो समाजवादी पार्टी को दर्द शुरू हो जाता है। और इसीलिए हम केवल तस्वीरों के आधार पर नहीं कह रहे हैं। अतीक अहमद तो खुलेआम अखिलेश यादव जी, मुलायम सिंह यादव जी के द्वारा पुष्पित पल्लवित किया गया अपराधी है। उनके तमाम शूटर्स
अभी तो वो जेल में है ना,
सपा दफ्तरों में,
अभी तो वो जेल में है,
बुलडोजर चलता है, कार्रवाई होती
अभी
है,
तो वो
तो
जेल में है, अभी तो वो जेल में है। एक की विटनेस की दिन दहाड़े हत्या होती है, उसके आसपास गार्ड थे, इनके यहाँ एक नहीं 13 शूटर थे। राकेश त्रिपाठी, आप इस पे राजनीति कर सकते हैं, समाजवादी पार्टी पर दोष मढ़ सकते हैं, लेकिन जो विटनेस है वो तो मर गया। उस विटनेस, वो गवाह तो मर गया और जेल के अंदर बैठ के इन्होंने प्लॉट हैच किया है। तो माफिया राज मिट्टी में मिला है कि नहीं मिला है, इसका जवाब आपको देना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि सरकार आपकी है। लेकिन समाजवादी पार्टी कैसे तत्वों को संरक्षण दे रही है, ये एक प्रश्न बनता है। इसका जवाब विवेक सिलास दीजिए।
जी, yes, very good evening to you, Mr. Anand. In the beginning of the show, you said the first person involved is Atiq Ahmed. Okay, let me come down to Hindi. पहला आपने बोला कि अतीक अहमद जो हैं वो इसमें पहला जो शख्स है, लेकिन सवाल ये है कि अतीक अहमद इस समय कहाँ है? अतीक अहमद इस समय अहमदाबाद की जेल में है, जो कि गुजरात में। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार उनको लेकर आती क्यों नहीं है? सबसे पहली बात, मुख्तार अंसारी के टाइम पे तो उन्होंने बहुत शोर शराबा किया था कि वो पंजाब में है, उसको कांग्रेस की सरकार आने नहीं दे रही है, उसको संरक्षण दे रही है, उसको फूल फल रहा है वहां पर। वहां तो बहुत परेशान हुए थे। लेकिन यहां पर इतना बड़ा माफिया अगर अहमदाबाद की जेल में बंद है, तो आखिरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी से कौन सी सेटिंग है कि उसको नहीं लेकर आ रहे त्रिपाठी जी? और दूसरी बात मैं बोलूं,
अतीक अहमद 2018 में समाजवादी पार्टी के खिलाफ फूलपुर से सांसदी का चुनाव लड़े थे, जबकि योगी जी की सरकार उत्तर प्रदेश में थी और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के ही समर्थन से लड़े थे, जिसमें उनका बेटा और उनकी पत्नी प्रचार कर रही थी और वो करीब करीब 60,000 वोट भी पाए। तीसरी बात, अतीक अहमद अपने दल के प्रदेश के अध्यक्ष रह चुके हैं, जो इनका सहयोगी दल है। क्यों त्रिपाठी जी, रहे कि नहीं रहे, प्रदेश अध्यक्ष रहे। आप में अगर हिम्मत है तो अपना दल जो आपको केंद्र में भी समर्थन दे रही है, उत्तर प्रदेश में भी समर्थन दे रही है, आशीष पटेल को आपने कैबिनेट मंत्री बनाया हुआ है अपने दल से, उनसे संबंध तोड़ दीजिए, वो तो उनके प्रदेश अध्यक्ष रह चुके हैं। ये कौन सी बात है? और दूसरी बात, लेट मी टेल यू वन मोर थिंग आनंद जी, प्रयागराज कम से अंदर पूर्वांचल, माफिया आर प्लेइंग क्रिकेट ओपनली and no one is bothered to even look at them. I'll tell you who. People like Brijesh Singh, Vineet Singh, Udayban Singh, Sonu Singh, Monu Singh, Ajay Singh Sipahi, Badshah Singh, Sangram Singh and many more, Dhananjay Singh, they're playing cricket and no one is bothered even to ask them. They are roaming, they are MLCs, MLAs and the chairman of Jilla Panchayat. There's no one to question them. No. If you have to walk against the mafia, because Yogi ji said,
if you quite literally mean that the mafia are playing cricket and not brandishing guns on the streets, then I'd rather they play cricket than run brandishing guns. But if you're saying that they are running their karobar, they are running their entire racket and still openly enjoying freedom, yes, then Rakesh Tripathi,
bounties on their head. They have bounties on their head.
हाँ, अब राकेश जी जवाब दें। वो कह रहे हैं वो तो 2018 में ही हमारे खिलाफ लड़ चुके हैं, अभी भी आप समाजवादी पार्टी पर क्यों ठीकरा फोड़ रहे हैं? आपके साथ थे, यानी अपना दल के साथ थे, फिर बीएसपी के साथ थे, अलग अलग पार्टीज में वो फिर शिरकत कर रहे हैं। माफिया चलिए ऐसा देख ले, फिर भी अगर माफिया है तो सब माफिया है, तो सब माफिया को खत्म कीजिए। गुड माफिया बैड माफिया तो नहीं हो सकता।
नहीं, एक तो आनंद जी एक तो विवेक साइलस ने जितने नाम गिनाए हैं अपराधियों के कह करके कि ये अपराधी हैं, इनमें से एक भी अपराधी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ एसोसिएट नहीं रहा है, ना किसी को हमने एमपी एमएलए बनाने का काम किया है। हाँ, इनमें से कुछ एमपी एमएलए सपा और बसपा के सहयोग से जरूर बनते रहे हैं। ये फैक्ट है, इस फैक्ट को गूगल पर चेक कर सकते हैं आपके देख रहे दर्शक। मैं दूसरी बात कहूंगा,
एक मिनट रुकिए,
सांसद इन्होंने बनाया, अब विधायक किन्होंने बनाया और आज ये जिम्मेदारी से अपने आप को पीछे कर रहे हैं कि नहीं हमने नहीं बनाया। अपना दल ने अगर प्रदेश अध्यक्ष बनाया था तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी का गठबंधन नहीं था। भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ गठबंधन की शर्त स्पष्ट तौर पर है कि हमारे साथ अपराधी नहीं रहेगा। अगर भारतीय समाज पार्टी ने अब्बास अंसारी को अपने साथ चुनाव लड़ाया तो भाजपा से गठबंधन से
मैं आपसे एक प्रश्न पूछूं, अगर आप एक माफिया को चुनाव लड़ाते तो ही उसका एनकाउंटर करना या उसको ठिकाने लगाना जरूरी है या उसको अरेस्ट करना जरूरी है? माफिया तो माफिया है, चुनाव लड़े ना लड़े, उसको पॉलिटिकल बैकिंग हो ना हो, उसको तो फिर आपको तो जो मिट्टी में मिलाने का जो वादा है वो तो करना पड़ेगा। फर्क क्या पड़ता है अगर किसी माफिया को कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी बैक कर रही है ना कर रही है? माफिया है ना। अब मैं थोड़ी कह रहा हूं कि बीजेपी ने इनको चुनाव लड़वाया है, बीजेपी को उनका संरक्षण है। विवेक सैलाज वो भी नहीं कह रहे हैं, विवेक सैलाज कह रहे हैं कि ये सारे माफिया डॉन्स हैं, ये खुलेआम घूम रहे हैं, इनका आप क्या कर रहे हैं? इन्होंने यही पूछा।
नहीं, बिल्कुल गलत कहा इन्होंने। एक भी ऐसा अपराधी नहीं है कि जो अपराधी खुले हवा में सांस ले सकता है, जिसके खिलाफ भी एफआईआर दर्ज होती है, जिसके खिलाफ भी चार्जशीट दाखिल है, जिसके खिलाफ भी कोर्ट से वारंट है। ऐसे सारे अपराधी जो अभ्यासता अपराधी हैं, जो सिंडिकेट चलाते थे, जो एक नेटवर्क चला करके अपराध करते रहे हैं, सारे अपराधी जेल की सलाखों के पीछे हैं। अगर कोई अपराधी जो जेल से जमानत कोर्ट के द्वारा जमानत लेकर के आता है तो भी सरकार ने प्रयास किए हैं कि उनकी जमानतें कैसे रद्द करा करके जो समाज के लिए खतरा है उनको जेल की सलाखों के पीछे भेजा जाए।
देखिए जो उन्होंने कृत्य किया, जो आरोप आप लगा रहे हैं, आज सरकार किसकी है? दूसरी बार ओवरवेलमिंग मैंडेट सत्ता किसको दी गई है? उनको दी गई है जिन्होंने वादा किया कि उत्तर प्रदेश में माफिया राज खत्म हो जाएगा। लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की वजह से सबसे बड़ा पैग उत्तर प्रदेश में बीजेपी को अगर वोट मिला है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर का मिला है। और अगर फिर भी ये आरोप लग रहा है कि खुलेआम माफिया घूम रहे हैं और ये इस तरह की सीसीटीवी फुटेज अगर दिख रहे हैं तो फिर आप क्या कहिएगा? आप दोनों का धन्यवाद। मुझे आगे बढ़ना पड़ेगा। शो में we'll have to move on, ladies and gentlemen, here on the right stand, moving on to yet another big development. The Enforcement Directorate has taken note of CNN News 18's expose on the Chinese loan apps. The ED has filed a charge sheet in the Chinese loan app case. The ED in its charge sheet has said that the borrowers were harassed and abused. The ED has found Chinese loan apps were charging up to 2,300% interest on the loan amounts. Names of Indian companies have NBFC license. They were misused by the Chinese apps. Phones of the borrowers were hacked, as during the application of loan, the borrower had given access to contacts. Subsequently, on default messages like chor were circulated to friend and relatives of the defaulter. Loan apps including MyBank, Moneybox, Loangram, Coco Cash, Panda Rupee, Cashpot, Need Rupee, etc. They were used. These apps are directly installed, accessed and used and monitored from cloud-based servers in China. Local Indian companies don't have any control on these apps. On non-payment, Chinese loan apps were threatening women of sexual intercourse, portraying them as call girls in adult websites. These were the challenges: social shaming and also threatening cyberbullying. 100 to 200 telecallers were operating out of call centers. First of all, the phone call is made on the 6th or the 7th day and given 20 to 25 minutes to repay. Further messages to block Aadhaar and PAN are then sent on WhatsApp and through calls. So this is how intimidation, bullying, threatening happens, and the escalation is immediate but on a stepwise process. After some time, they call the relatives of the borrowers and use abusive language. You see, there goes the next level of escalation. WhatsApp groups are made by using contact lists and abusive messages are sent. So then it is about social shaming. So the next level of cyberbullying and intimidation. Specifically targeted women contacts stored on the phone. And the women start getting lewd messages, phone calls, threatenings, and it's all going via the person who's the borrower. Abusive, obscene messages are sent to women. Created fake legal notices, broadcasted to the contact list of the borrower. Again, social shaming, denting credibility, deliberate defamation, all of this. There are users who had said that they were facing this. We had put it out here on CNN News 18 and it now makes its way into the charge sheet of the Enforcement Directorate. It was CNN News 18 that first exposed the Chinese loan app back in August 2022. Now let's tell you how they set the trap step by step. Let's break it down for you. Stage 1, they set up fake Chinese fintech companies. Linked loan app is created. Uploaded email IDs are used, traced to China, Hong Kong and Macau. Then what happens in stage 2? App marketing is advertised on social media, email, TV channels. And what does the ad say? Loans in one click. Fatafat loan. Interest just 400 rupees per week. Target audience: victims, small businesses who want instant money just to work through their daily working capital needs, etc. They are hit by the COVID lockdown. That's when they started to capitalize. The interest charges up to 2,300% of the loan amount, ladies and gentlemen. Stage 3, loan released and the victim approaches the loan app. Loan app is communicated with payment gateway and then the e-info or profile of the victim is then taken. E-loan is dispersed from fake fintech companies. Stage 4, this is the recovery aspect. Data of the victim has been harvested. Call center units are deployed. Indian callers are the ones who are calling and the victims are shamed. Among contacts, pics of the victim is morphed, distributed. Their near and dear ones' pictures from their social media posts are picked up, cropped, morphed and then distorted and then further sent. So this level of bullying happens. When CNN News 18 broke this story in August 2022, Chinese web and how Indians were targeted, we also spoke to the victims then, listening to their plight and the torture they had to go through.
The money from my bank loan app, and after around 1 week or 2 weeks they started demanding me like 10 times the money I took. So I have paid them once, twice, and after that I could not pay because the amount was crossed around 1.25 lakhs. So then they started harassing me by sending my more photos to my friends, relatives, family, and then later I approached the police to solve my matter, and for around 15 to 20 days they have tortured me, my family members, everyone. They have damaged in whatever possible way they could.
Short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, it's the US report that not just nails Pakistan as a terror state, it also lauds India for cracking down on terror. So the inaction, India lauded, Pakistan criticized, the inaction is actually questioned. Is the FATF watching? Within the same week that Syed Salahuddin has been spotted in Rawalpindi on a military ground, comes this US report which very clearly says that Pakistan has done nothing much to curb terrorism on its soil. Stay with us.
The charge that CBI is making. What do they have so far in terms of proof to back that charge? They claim that in terms of Goa election funding, they have receipts to suggest that people who were advertising or allowing AAP to use their hoardings, they were asked to put on paper deflated bills, and the rest of the payment, the balance payment, was made in cash. They're alleging Hawala transaction proof is available. They're also alleging that cash payment of 70 lakh rupees was made. Now, out of 100 crore that they're alleging so far, only 70 lakh expenditure has been stated. At another place, they say that 20 to 30 crore upfront payment was made right at the start of 2021 in a meeting that happened in Hyderabad between the South Group and Vijay Nair. So these figures have been thrown, but do they have enough paper trail, enough witnesses, and if you have to prove the money trail, you need to complete the chain of criminal conspiracy, and that's what they say. They want to question Manish Sisodia about, that was this entire money used in Goa, or has this been stashed somewhere else? There has been a lot of speculations about the way Punjab elections were funded as well. So right now, there are charges, there are allegations, there are some proof. CBI still has to go a long way to complete the chain of criminal conspiracy to tie down Manish Sisodia.
Over the last few days, in a massive setback to the Delhi Aam Aadmi Party government, the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, the number 2 in charge, the key aide to Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia, in charge of 18 portfolios in the Delhi government, has now been sent to 5 days of CBI custody. That is until March 4th. Now, he is going to be in court. The CBI has argued in court yesterday that Sisodia generated illegal profits via a liquor policy in a secret conspiracy with top liquor barons. You'll remember that the liquor policy they're referring to is a liquor policy introduced by the Delhi government last year. It was introduced and then just a few weeks after rescinded once again. Now, there were many allegations made against the Aam Aadmi Party government, all of which they've refuted, and we'll get into that in just a second. But the CBI also argued that custodial interrogation is essential. Essentially, they've said they need to have Sisodia in front of them to ask him the right questions. They've also said Sisodia is being evasive. Now, Sisodia, on the other hand, has said that the liquor policy was totally above the table. He's also said it was cleared by the LG in 2021. He's also added that he has replied and come for all the rounds of questioning. The round of questioning we saw on Sunday in which he was arrested was only the second round of questioning, and he said he had appeared both times and cooperated with the agency.
पूरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी, केंद्र की मोदी सरकार, जिसका कंट्रोल, जिसके इशारे पर यह सारा खेल हो रहा है, पूरी भाजपा चुप है, पूरी केंद्र सरकार चुप है, पूरी सीबीआई चुप है, पूरी ईडी चुप है। ये राजनीतिक प्रतिद्वंदिता के तहत, गंदी राजनीति के तहत ये सारा खेल हो रहा है।
पापी आपको भी पता है कि एक्यूज नंबर 1 कट्टर बेईमान है, और आज ये आदेश आने के बाद ये बात सिद्ध हो गई है।
चाहिए थी जब इनके शराब घोटाले वाले मंत्री लूट की खुली छूट अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार में थी। मनीष सिसोदिया जी आरोपी नंबर 1 हो सकते हैं, लेकिन किंग पिन अरविंद केजरीवाल है, और सीबीआई ने पूरी जांच करने के बाद उनकी गिरफ्तारी की है। जांच में सहयोग करना चाहिए।
कल की हमारी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस देखिए, कल ही हमने बता दिया था कि सीबीआई आज कोर्ट में पेश करेगी तो कस्टोडियल इंट्रोगेशन के नाम पे 5 दिन की रिमांड, हमने दिन भी बताया कितने दिन की रिमांड मांगी जाएगी, 5 दिन की रिमांड मांगी जाएगी। और ये स्टेप 1 है, स्टेप 2 क्या होगा, 3 सब बताया था। और बता क्यों पाए थे? क्योंकि ये सारी स्क्रिप्ट जो सीबीआई कह रही है या कर रही है, सारी स्क्रिप्ट जो है ना भारतीय जनता पार्टी के दफ्तर में बैठ कर लिखी गई है। सीबीआई, इनकम टैक्स, ईडी, दिल्ली की पुलिस, ये सारे भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अनुषांगिक संगठन के तौर पे प्रकोष्ठ होते हैं, यूथ विंग, महिला विंग, बिल्कुल वैसे ही फ्रंटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के तौर पे बीजेपी के काम कर रहे हैं।
सिर्फ और सिर्फ राजनीतिक कारणों से और अपने घोटालों पर पर्दा डालने के लिए नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने मनीष सिसोदिया को गिरफ्तार किया है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार जो पूरे देश में सबसे बेहतरीन काम कर रही है, अनुकरणीय काम कर रही है, लोगों को फ्री बिजली देना, फ्री शिक्षा देना, फ्री स्वास्थ्य की व्यवस्था देना, बुजुर्गों की तीर्थ यात्रा कराना, दरअसल यह गले की हड्डी बन गया नरेंद्र मोदी जी की। वो नहीं चाहते कि देश के अंदर एक ऐसी सरकार चले जो दुनिया और देश के लिए उदाहरण बने। परेशानी यह है, जो दिल्ली सरकार की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, अरविंद केजरीवाल और आम आदमी पार्टी की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, उससे बौखलाकर यह कार्रवाई की जा रही है। ये तानाशाही की इंतहा है।
Right. Ashish Mehrishi, who covers all of these developments, is with us this morning to bring us context on the entire case. Ashish, good morning. We witnessed a dramatic few days for the Aam Aadmi Party government. Ashish, can you walk us through what took place in court yesterday? Can you also walk us through what the next 5 days of remand with the CBI are going to look like for the Deputy Chief Minister?
So, if you see what the CBI said in the court was, and in fact what they wanted, they got. They wanted 5 days custody, they were given 5-day custody, and they were given this custody on merit. Reason being that there's some evidence and some testimonies as well, where people who were occupying senior positions in the Delhi government, they were basically
Back on the right stand with the details of the US counter-terrorism report that's lauded India but nailed Pakistan as a terrorist state or a state that's not done much to curb terrorism. So it's contrary to what the FATF findings are. Now let's take you quickly through what some of the key features of this report are, or key points. They've lauded India, saying significant efforts to detect, disrupt, degrade terror ops. Slammed Pakistan, saying ISIS Khorasan, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan have used the Afpak border as a safe haven. They've lauded India, saying responding promptly to requests for info related to terror probes. They've slammed Pakistan, saying meager progress in dismantling terror organizations. India has been lauded for the efforts to mitigate threats, whereas Pakistan's been slammed because it's redesignated country of particular concern in 2021. India has been further lauded for collaborative efforts to disrupt terrorist travel, while Pakistan's been slammed, saying it's being faced significant money laundering and terror financing risks. India has also been appreciated for using watch lists, implementing biometric screening at entry ports. Pakistan, meanwhile, has been slammed as terror organizations raising funds via direct support public fundraising. Cool scams to combat radicalization has been lauded, whereas Pakistan, terror funding moving through Hawala Hundi channels has been cited and criticized. So big development now. Amid the US report, there's been more trouble for cash-strapped Pakistan. There's new trouble that is arising for Islamabad. The IMF has set fresh conditions, asking Pakistan to cut the defense budget or impose 25% GST. IMF wants Pakistan to cut expenses, raise the interest rates and liberalize the exchange rate. The IMF has also demanded a significant increase in the interest rate during its recently concluded staff-level visit, aimed at adopting an aggressive approach to curb inflation. The fund has also asked what measures have been taken by Pakistan regarding their defense budget. The Pak government is set to slap 25% GST on dozens of consumer goods to collect additional revenues as the Pak government failed to cut defense budgets. Pak needs repayment plan to fulfill the staff-level agreement for the next tranche of $1.2 billion. The summary will be sent to the federal cabinet for its endorsement, and as part of the mini budget, the government has already increased the standard GST rate from 17 to 18%. And there's more, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it doesn't stop there itself. Another setback for Pakistan. Moody's has downgraded Pakistan's rating to CAA3 from CAA1 with the outlook stable, saying Pakistan's increasingly fragile liquidity and external position significantly raises default risks to a level consistent with CAA3 rating. The rating agencies also downgraded the rating for the senior unsecured MT program to CAA3 from PCAA1. Now, on the other hand, Moody's changed the outlook to stable from negative. Moody's said that the decision to downgrade the ratings is driven by its assessment that Pakistan's increasingly fragile liquidity and external position raises default risks to a level consistent with that kind of rating. Moody's has said that the country's foreign exchange reserves have fallen to extremely low levels, far lower than necessary to cover its import needs and external debt obligations over the immediate and medium term. Joining us now, Dr. Tara Karta, former Director, National Security Council Secretariat, and Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow, ORF. Dr. Tara Karta, should the FATF do a revisit? Should the FATF put Pakistan back in the grey list?
I think it's high time they did, sometimes to some extent to Pakistan's own benefit. Because if this kind of thing is going on in terms of the terror funding, in terms of, what shall I say, the whole financial system, the international financial system is at risk due to Pakistan's, the kind of, what shall I say, terror financing which is going on. So you have to protect the global financial system, you have to put some curbs on Pakistan, which ultimately is best for Pakistan itself. If you can induce some reform, if you can induce change in the way they operate, and above all, get it into their heads that, look, you cannot shelter terrorists. This is not something which is good for you, for your own country. If that message goes in through the FATF, then that's the best thing that can ever happen to Pakistan.
Sushant Sareen, where do you stand on this? Syed Salahuddin seen, Hafiz Saeed seen, Talha seen. 3 terror leaders have been executed by rival jihadi tanzeems. They're all active, hyperactive.
Anand, I think we need to be very clear what the FATF stands for. I don't think the FATF says that Hafiz Saeed and all these other despicables cannot be seen. But it does talk about, following the UN resolutions on these fellows, which is basically curbing their funding and their activity and their travel and their weaponry. Pakistan has singularly failed to do that. But I think more importantly, from the FATF point of view, the FATF took Pakistan out of the grey list, saying that, well, they have delivered on a whole lot of other things. Just the events of the last 4 or 5 months proves how premature that assessment and how fallacious and faulty that assessment of the FATF was. For example, it is admitted by the Pakistanis themselves that there are millions of dollars which are being smuggled out of Pakistan into Afghanistan. Now, if the Pakistanis had shut down and shut down most of those illegal channels of transmission of funds, which is exactly the kind of channels which terrorists use for terror financing, then how come this money is continuing to flow into Afghanistan? Should the FATF not be asking these questions of the Pakistanis on something which the Pakistanis at the top levels have themselves acknowledged that this is happening, from the finance minister to the prime minister to the State Bank of Pakistan governor? Everybody has accepted this, right? So this is a singular failure of the FATF in discharging the purpose for which that organization has been created. And I could go into many other things where the Pakistanis have fallen short. But the fact of the matter remains that until and unless you are going to crack down on the Pakistanis and the kind of activities they are indulging in, and this constant act of theirs, that they'll pretend that they are delivering on whatever is asked of them, but on the side they'll continue to flout all those regulations and all those norms which have been put. They flout those, and I think it's about time that the international community gets together to put a stop to this kind of activity.
Dr. Tara Karta, because money laundering is now on. The jihadi tanzeems are getting money via the illicit routes. Money is being laundered openly, and the black market is the grey market is the one, the parallel economy is the one that is currently funding whatever is happening on the streets in Pakistan. So those evidences are already there. Now the US counterterrorism report also says that the tanzeems are active. So what next? The report comes, everybody says, oh, Pakistan is doing this. No designation of it as a terror state, no calling it out, no freezing of funds, nothing.
On the I think I pointed this out, that there is a lot of money coming into Pakistan, ostensibly for flood relief, right? Which is being generated from the US, from Turkey, from various countries where there are offshoots of the Jamaat-e-Islami and all these people operating, and sending money back. Then there is the Al-Khidmat Foundation in Pakistan, which is sending relief to Turkey. So there is, like you said, this whole number of organizations working together, all linked to each other and all against the liberal cause, if you want to put it that way, or against the Indians. I mean, let's put it frankly. They're all anti-India. And they've got all this money in their hands. And the question is, what do they do with it?
Right.
For that matter, when the Pakistan government gets aid, Pakistan reports themselves as saying this aid doesn't come to the common man. Where is this money going? But then the problem is, Anand, in the other report that we heard is that Pakistani weapons are going to Ukraine.
Yes.
So on the one hand, you're doing this. On the other hand, this is how they get their work done.
No, Pakistan was allowing its bases to be used to ferry weapons. So that was what the story that came out was. It was not that
Pakistani weapons. These are Pakistani ordnance factory weapons which have been found in Ukraine and has been photographed, and you can see it.
Wow. Because I was aware of there were reports of the air bases being used and Pakistan providing air base, but it using weapons in Ukraine. Well, they don't have their visitor. They're ready to pawn off their nuclear assets just to raise money, and that's what their experts are claiming. So it's a nation capable of anything. Thank you, Dr. Tarakarta. Sushantji, please stay on. We've just got yet another quick update from the neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen. Moving away from Pakistan to Nepal, where in a major development, the fragile coalition that is being led by Prime Minister Prachanda, former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's party has withdrawn support from this alliance. Current Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal or Prachanda is now set to face a floor test, although the Communist Party of Nepal, unified Marxist-Leninists, cited changes in the political equation while breaking off the 2-month-old ruling coalition in the country. The political twist comes ahead of the Nepal's presidential elections, which are slated to take place on the 9th of March. The UML has said that they are going to back the National Congress's candidate Ramchandra Paudel, and the CPN-UML move comes as they fear that they may be cross-voting in the presidential elections if they remained in the government. Now, but what does this mean for India? The Nepali Congress, has it been historically favorable? Is there a shift in equation? Sushant Sareen, because the voices coming in from KP Sharma Oli's party have alleged that there is a realignment beyond Nepal, and that's why this is happening.
No, see, KP Sharma Oli has been inveterately opposed to India. I don't know why, but yes, he has been anti-India. And clearly, this is a realignment. Obviously, this is a realignment from their own in their own political domain. I don't think India really has any hand to play in it. You should remember that when the elections happened and the Nepali Congress came into pole position, it was expected at that point of time that the Nepali Congress will seek the support of somebody from the left bloc, either from Prachand or from Oli or somebody else to get the numbers, right?
Nepali Congress is the single largest party.
Yes, and at the last minute, you know, the Prachand and Oli got together with a couple of other people, and Prachand became the Prime Minister. Now, if Nepali Congress had gotten the chance, then the Prime Minister would be from the Nepali Congress. So I think Prachand has played a very smart game. He became Prime Minister with the support of Oli, but he knows that Oli and he fight for the same political space. So now what he has done is that he has now dumped Oli, and he has decided to support the Nepali Congress for presidentship. So Nepali Congress gets its pound of flesh. Nepali Congress will support him as the Prime Minister. The numbers will be there. So they are home and dry. So this is Nepali politics, nothing more, nothing less. But I don't think we should, at least from at this point in time, there isn't anything to worry about that this is, you know, very unstable or political instability is coming back. Nepal has been in the throes of this kind of politics for over 10 years now, even longer actually. So it's par for the course as far as Nepalese politics is concerned.
But from an India standpoint, is this a better equation to have? But from an India standpoint, is this a better equation to have with the lesser of Chinese influence? If I remember correctly, the presence of the Chinese ambassador or amidst these meetings and the Chinese influence in forming this coalition against the Nepali Congress was much talked about. Is this a shift away from overt Chinese influence and perhaps a foot in the door for India?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I don't think we can wish away the Chinese in Nepal. The Chinese are going to be there. But the kind of very intrusive and in-your-face kind of a role which the Chinese were able to play under Oli, I don't think that might be there anymore. Simply because whatever else you might say about Prachand, he is a Nepali nationalist, right? Unlike Oli, who was a shifty character. And the Nepali Congress is quite well disposed towards India. So it augurs well, I would imagine, for India if this new realignment works and provides a degree of political stability to Nepal. I think that will be good for Nepal. It will be good for India-Nepal relations. And maybe we can together do better things than what we have done so far.
There was always talk that Prachand will be a little closer to the ruling, to the current disposition. He's a better option if he's with the Nepali Congress. The Nepali Congress seemed favorably disposed towards India in the past. But Sushant Sareen, thank you for your inputs. We have to see how this plays out. At the moment, there is no toppling of the governments. That's what we are given to understand in Nepal. Although the President may be a Nepali Congress candidate and the Prime Minister will remain Prachand. So both parties will have some share and finger in the pie. Does that augur well for India? We'll have to wait and watch. With that, it's a wrap of this edition of The Right Stand. Brass Tags with Zaka right now.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. Aam Aadmi Party, a political party which originated from an anti-corruption movement, is today ironically marred by corruption scandals. And today, in a big development, two of its jailed ministers, Manish Sisodia and Satyendra Jain, have both resigned, and Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has accepted their resignations. Earlier today, the Supreme Court refused to entertain the plea filed by Sisodia challenging his arrest by the CBI. Soon after, the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, who